You good?
I'm good.
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
What's up, fam? It's the InsideOutrz podcast, and we're back like Bernie Mac. And my name is Danny Lloyd, and guess what I did? I took the I out of addict and I put the Y in you.
And it's your boy, the Lock Dog. Guess what I did?
What'd you do, bruv?
I decided to move residence.
Where did you go?
Well, I used to live at rock bottom, and then I decided to move to the top.
Well, I'll be fucked.
Yes,
Would you have
sir.
seen that coming? And who is this weapon over here? Would you like to introduce yourself, please, sir?
I can introduce myself. Currently going by the name of Brodie Kelly, in the process of changing my name to Brodie Kelly. So join the ride.
Well, Brodie Kelly. It is a pleasure to have you on here. We've had the privilege to get to know you over the past 4 months-ish, nearly at this point. We're also very privileged that you chose Inside Out Coaching and Consultancy Collective to join and be a part of our journey as we're part of yours. But yeah, let's talk about all of the things that make us excited to have you on the show. And before I do, I just want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors. Mr. Dan Smith of Killer Moe's and the amazing clothing brand that he has. You can check him out on Instagram at Killer Moe's. Does some awesome work, and he's been a supporter of us from the start and been on the show. And also our American brother, Ryan Ferrari, all the way in Bullhead, Arizona, with 5-Star Classified, which is an online community that prides themselves on no censorship, and you can buy and sell the items you want from 99 cents. Thank you both. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't be able to do all the great work we do. As the same can be said for our community and subscribers. And just at FYI, if we want to keep helping people, we need you all that listen to help us by getting other people to subscribe and join the movement so that we can get the platform elevated and get ourselves in front of Spotify so we can help the world. Anyway, let's get it cracking.
All right, Brodie.
Lock Dog.
I'm going to start this one off a little bit different. Why are you here?
I'm here thanks to you two. Thanks to you two coming into my life. Reached out, actually got referred to you two, going through the process of trying to sort of regain some function and keep building upon that mindset from a professional athlete perspective. And fortunately enough, we've got a bit of a gym junkie in Danny Lloyd and the little Jordan Peterson over there.
I've never had that one before, but
Little
I'll take that.
Jordan Peterson, eh? I can love that.
But yeah, it's been a bit of a process, and here we are. 5 months in to working with you guys on a pretty well daily basis, from anything from daily assistance right through to the sports psychology and everything that goes with that, within quad life as well. You know, it's as much of a mental battle as it is physical, and you know, just having the conversations we've had and really build upon that mindset to attack each day as a new beginning. So that's why we're here, and yeah, kind of preach what we practice.
Yeah, that's excellent. And you just referenced quad life. Can you explain what is quad life?
Yeah, quad life. So for those that don't know, I'm assuming most of you guys won't know. I was actually born with cerebral palsy, and as a result of that, I was then diagnosed with tetraplegia. So my cerebral palsy affects all 5 of my limbs, incomplete paralysis, so partly affected in all 5 limbs, or all 4, hence quad 4. So both hands, both legs, and trunk as well. That's where quad life comes from, and trying to create a fun little label to go with that, you know, try and point the light on it, but also really knock down some of that stigma that goes with that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think what sets you apart isn't just this remarkable journey you have in this world of adaptive sports, but also your entrepreneurial spirit. You know, Broads, you're a visionary entrepreneur. You've got your sight set on creating this business that will not only change your life but also impact the lives of countless others. And you're a pioneer, bruv. And the world's a better place with you in it. And that's why our brand is InsideOutrz podcast. You are an inside outer born and bred, and that's why your story, I believe, will resonate with a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of crossovers in stigma around disability versus addiction versus mental health, to be honest. So I think it was a no-brainer really to have you on here and share your story. And I hope that as we move forward over the next hour or so, this is quite a cathartic process for you too.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it will be. I think it'll be amazing to share your story, but I think it'll be very cathartic for you to put more breath inside of that story and remind you exactly why you're a pioneer and why you sometimes have to get up daily when it's harder than most people's days to start, so that at the finish you can give other people a new start at their life.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the whole reason as to why I'm here, and that's really the vision and the purpose as to why I get up each day, to really push those boundaries and change those perceptions, but also think outside the text box, as you boys know, with the therapy that we've been doing, just going against what people have said, and really coming up with our own sort of methods as to how to maintain the daily functions that can be so heavily dependent on the routines and things like that. So that's why I'm here, and really want to try and document my journey throughout my life, and hopefully change things both from a medical point of view, but also the perceptions and opinions around the mainstream society and disability as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only hope that exists in this world's hope cartel. Outside of that, there's no hoping with you. It's a guarantee. It's already happened. You're just catching up to the success that is ahead of you in the pioneering journey that you've embarked on. So let's talk about cerebral palsy a little bit more. Now, I know it's a very complex condition and topic. So obviously, within reason, we'll just have to keep it more attuned to you. And I if I'm right in saying it is very different for everyone almost.
Yeah,
it's expansive, right? It's a massive...
It's just an umbrella term for, I guess, in a sense, childhood brain injury.
Okay.
So for me, basically my spinal cord and brain don't communicate. So those signals that get sent through. So I guess for the viewers and listeners, if you were to, say, mash up a banana but not sever the spinal cord, that's kind of how the signals get sent. It's broken in a way, but the spinal cord's still intact. So that's hence why we get all of those mixed signals and rapid spasms and things like that from occasion, because the signals are trying to communicate what my body's telling them, but doesn't always go the way as planned.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, how has it shaped you as a person today when you look back, let's just say at your childhood and school and trying to create friendships during that time? How did it, because you've had it from birth, right?
Yeah. It's a birth condition. So
so how did it shape your the person you are today? How did it shape you during your childhood and upbringing, dealing with that, and I guess trying to fit in at school as well?
Yeah, that's a very deep question, but I guess in terms of fitting in, it kind of goes both ways. Like growing up, I didn't really see a disability until later on. Like very early on, I was kind of oblivious. I thought my wheelchair was pretty awesome. It was covered in stickers and had all the coolest gear. It had the robot splints and things like that. I thought I was the coolest kid. People pay a lot of money to be different, and I was blessed to be in a position I was. But then as time went on and people started to ask questions and really be less educated than what they should be, that's when I started to struggle and started to really feed into what people would say. Instead of joining in PE, you'd sit on a sideline, and and things like that. Whereas, I never really had a disability. And I guess in home, growing up with a twin brother, it was, we were both into our boxing or footy or whatever, and it was no different. I'd hold the bag or kick the footy kick the footy, handball the footy. I was playing wheelchair footy before it was even a sport. And then you'd, go to a mainstream school and, you'd be putting bubble wrap in a text box. And, that's kind of one thing I did struggle with. And then socially as well, there were very few people that did actually accept the disability for what it was.
Okay. It's interesting you say that, like going into the mainstream, that's where you start to notice things. Do you think kind of the inclusive approach can also feel exclusive, like you're excluded?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of along the lines of, to be inclusive, we'll do a modified PE program. But, that's kind of more so highlighting the disability rather than just letting me go about my business the way that I do it. Crawling along the ground and things, that was perfectly normal for me to, commando crawl along the footy field and tackle people,
Yeah, cool.
As weird as it sounds, that was my normality. That was me using my legs and playing the game that I knew. Whereas, as soon as someone else with an outside view comes in and thinks, that's not quite right, we'll have to change that. All of a sudden, it's like being, hidden away to who you, like being told who you can be. That's the biggest thing, both from a medical point of view, but also from an educational point of view as well. Being told, you can't be doing that, or you can't do that, that's dangerous, or whatever. I was one of those kids that was taking my wheelchair to a skate park, and then as soon as an outsider with, within the able-bodied community would see that, they'd go, well, you can't be doing that, you're such and such, you've got to go in this text box.
Yeah.
I really struggled with that, and then, people start to feed off that energy, and it becomes difficult. But, the friendships that I do have and the people that saw me for me, those are lifetime friendships, because the wheelchair and the disability was invisible.
Yeah.
Not saying that it should still be that way, because, I'm starting to really, love life in a chair and things like that. But, it gets to a point where the chair's the chair and Brodie's Brodie. At the end of the day, most of us sit down all day anyway, so...
Yeah, I actually know of an interesting conversation that you and the Lock Dog had about this. Do you want to start that back up, or are you not doing that?
Oh, you want to discuss it, Brodie?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, okay. So we were having a chat the other day, talking just kind of a generalised conversation about, even though some people might perceive Brodie in a chair as, disabled, and, he has a lack of life and all these things. We kind of looked at everyone from afar, and we're like, actually, people get out of bed to get ready to go and sit down at their job, and they sit all the way to the job in their car or on public transport, and then they do their job, which they don't like, and then they sit all the way back home, and then they get home just to sit again on the couch, and then they go all the way up to bed just to lay down, and like they do it all over again.
Yeah.
Like everyone's looking to sit, and you have, someone like Brodie in a wheelchair looking to stand up. And it's just funny. It's like, who's really disabled when everyone with able bodies and have legs that are perfectly fine and work are always looking for the next seat?
Yeah. That's completely backwards when you think about it, eh? Like, how much do we take for granted the fact we can stand up, and yet we basically spend half of our time trying to find a way to sit down?
You see it all the time. Like I was referencing.
That's fucking.
I was referencing, my observations. Taking, public transport like the train to work, and people are rushing into the train to sit down after work. It's like, but you just spent 8 hours sitting down. Now you're in a rush to sit down on the train. Why don't you stand up and use those legs for a minute, bro?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. I mean, it goes down to people that complain about standing up, or people that complain about walking through dog shit, and it's like, well, at least you got the opportunity to feel those sensations. Like, would you prefer to not, people that complain about getting sand in between their toes, like that is my goal. Like, that is the reason why I go to therapy every day of the week. So it's really changing those conceptions and opinions around what is a negative thing and what's a positive thing, and really grounding individuals as to what it is that is a blessing and what's not, you know, because what's seen as a negative is someone else's positive, and things like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know. That's something a lot of people take for granted and go, I'd rather watch Netflix and walk on the beach.
Yeah.
And your biggest goal is to feel that sand beneath your toes as you walk along.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing how much a lot of us take what we have for granted versus what other people wish they could have that we do. And we just kind of flit through life like it's no big thing. But it is a big thing. That's one thing my grandmother taught me. Nanny always said to me, forget about your cars and your fucking flashy houses and your money in your bank account and all that. She said, you know, none of that counts for anything unless you have your health. Health is the only wealth, you know, in any description. You know, whether it be the fact I can walk, I should be grateful for that. And the fact that you still have function in all the bits you do versus someone else behind you on that, right? Like, we're all lucky to have what we have because there's someone behind us that wishes they had what we have.
Yeah, it goes down to the pursuit of happiness, you know.
Yeah.
One of your questions is what do you deem successful? Well, I think you're being successful if you wake up, get out of bed with a smile on your face and you are happy and you're healthy. If you've got your health, then you truly have wealth. Particularly in today's society, if you have the power to recognise that, that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
100%. And, you know, it was only a little while ago, and I've written it down here just because I didn't want to forget it. I think it's super powerful, and it rings true. You said along the lines of disability only exists in the confinement of a closed mindset. So the only disability is a bad mindset.
Definitely.
I thought that's super powerful, and I think, you know, a lot of people that are able-bodied disable themselves with a bad mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and I'm truly only starting to realise it now. I've been on this journey for 22 years, and I'm still growing and learning every day. But it comes back to what other people will tell you is what you'll believe. But if you truly believe, you know, being told that I'll never walk again without, you know, severe surgery intervention, well, you know, the true mind-body connection and the true belief of the fact that I can do that, that's where what that comes down to. And if you truly believe it, then I'm sure you'll make it happen in one way or another. Like, if you truly want to be successful as much as you want to breathe, more often than not, you'll be successful, you know?
Yeah.
And it goes down to the whole figuring out this whole relationship of Brodie and Cyril. Cyril being the name of the CP. Thanks to Danny and Jordan for coming up with the, you know, idea to name it, you know, separate yourself from the thing that you're trying to either be at war with or become friends with. And since doing that, you know, it's become a powerful unit.
It is it's something that I actually learnt from my nanny when she had cancer. In her own way, she taught me this, and then I just kind of ran with the idea and came up with a better my own spin on it. But you think about energy inside the body, you think everything, we're made of energy, right? That's how we create heat. That's why bodies that are not dead, that are alive, like, have heat coming off of them, right? Because it's actually kinetic energy all the time. We're always moving, even talking right now, you know. And so when you have an illness, a sickness, a diagnosis, or a challenge that comes up physically or mentally or emotionally, actually, and we're always at war with it, right? Like literally, it's framed like you're battling cancer, battling mental health, you know, fighting off heart disease. Why are you doing that? Like, so you're going to create a battle. You're creating a war zone inside your body. Like, why would you do that? Every single thing that happens in life, physically, mentally, or emotionally, that shows up as a problem is cleverly disguised that way, and it's actually an opportunity. And it turns up in your life to teach you something, right? I don't know at the beginning what it is, but when you look back, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back, right? So my theory was, watching Nanny go through her multiple cancers and beat them, she just always remained positive, and she was never framing linguistics around fighting, battling and anything. She'd just say to me, this is the cards, I just got to play them, all right? Like, it doesn't have to be bad. I just have to roll with it or I'll get rolled over. And I guess from that, I always had that feeling that you should welcome in as friend, not. And then what quantified that was when Jordan brought me over to the Dr. Gabor Mate world, and he talks about cancers and things like that and welcoming it in as a friend, not a foe. And then from that, when I met you, I knew absolutely nothing about disability, by the way, like not a fucking clue. I actually said to you the first week, you're going to have to excuse the mistakes and the wrong sayings, and you're going to have to teach me, because I don't know anything about this world. I know about addiction, mental health.
But how good was he when we were kind of connected to one another, and our concerns were, we don't specialise in disability. We're more mental health and addiction.
Yeah.
And Brodie's just like, no, I got the disability. I'll sort that out. You make sure my mindset's going along with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's a powerful process. If the mind is powerful enough to deal with the daily challenges that are thrown my way, well then, the whole idea of what it is that's being thrown my way suddenly becomes very minimal, because it's just like, oh yeah, cool. Like, I'm in a position where I'm studying myself. So, you just look back at it. Oh, cool. Like, I'm spasming like crazy. Oh, maybe it's because of this, or, the whole situation with you on Sunday with the old temp regulation.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I'm feeling like I'm going to spasm like crazy. Oh, well, maybe I just need to sit down and chill out for a bit and try and re-regulate the temperature. So, it's one of those things, man. Like, a health diary is a powerful thing too. If anyone, whether it's mental or physical, is going through something and they feel like they're battling it, but it's not a battle. It's a case of how you can work with it and try and document it as much as you can, whether it be in writing or video, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, just to close off that bit, we were just having a bit of a random tangent on. So that's weird how that came up too, because I was talking to you, Jordan's talking to you in separate ways, but about like needing to welcome in the disability, make friends with it. And I just put out a random name. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, just call it something like Cyril. And you went, that was my grandfather's name. Oh,
yeah.
That's a bit weird, and that's what you run with, right? So now when, say 6 months ago, you'd have spasms, pains, you'd be kept up half the night with the cerebral palsy, and it would be a lot to deal with, and you'd be upset or you'd get angry, whatever. But now a lot of the time, including me and Jordan as well as you, when you spasm or do stuff, we just crack on about Cyril. We're like, oh, what's up with him now?
Yeah.
He's not happy about something. What's the crack with Cyril? What's up with your brother?
Yeah.
And over time, I've noticed in the last couple of weeks, especially now without your stim suit, and yet I've noticed that you just seem different, even if they come. Like, you just kind of seem to smile about it a little bit, like, Yeah,
for sure. I guess it's separating the person from the disability. I am myself, and Cyril is himself, and he's going to do what he's going to do, and it's up to me to figure out what he's trying to tell me.
Yeah.
It comes down to that conversation I had with you the other day, George, about the whole, getting lightheaded or overheating. All right, what's that trying to tell me? Because,
Exactly. And I think it's something just everyone in general should do, don't get into war with yourself, get into rapport with yourself. Wars are stressful, rapport's gentle. So you want to work with it. And like when we look at stress, we refer back to Dr. Gabor for a minute. Wars are stressful. What's bad for the body? Stress. Stress is going to make everything worse.
Yeah.
So don't go to war with yourself. Get into rapport with yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I like that. So, all right. Anyway, I had a bit of a segue there. What's next on the agenda there, Lock Dog? What gems have you got?
I would like to give this episode and Brodie a bit of a platform to to lie down some misconceptions that people in the world of disability get, what are some common misconceptions you've encountered, and how would you like to correct them?
Yeah, well, I guess the first misconception I get it all the time, okay? It's a common misconception that people with disability don't need to work. Oh, you're just taken care of. Like, it's just one of those things. And because I do work, I'm constantly seen as someone out of the norm and, I'm a superhero and, it's so inspirational. I work in a disability store and I'm in a position where quite often I'll go up to someone and ask if they need a hand with whatever it is they're looking at. And it's like, actually, no, I don't work here, mate. You're going to have to ask someone else. It's like, no, I'm here to help you. Like, what do you need help with? Like, things like that. And then it's like, it's so good that a company like this employs people with disabilities, rah, rah, rah. It's like, I went through the same process as everyone else to get this job, and I feel like if it wasn't for me passing on my knowledge, well, you'd just be learning from someone that doesn't have a disability, that's just there for the paycheck, going, oh yeah, this is this, it's kind of like, well, if I work in a disability store and I'm seen as someone that shouldn't be there, what sort of hope is left for the next generation of people with disability? Like, it's 2023.
Yeah,
we're talking about all things and everything, but we're not talking about the gap between able-bodied and disabled communities and the perceptions around disability and everything in between. It's pretty crazy.
You know where I think part of that comes from? I'm going to piss so many people off right now, but I don't care anymore. I think that comes from this generation of woke people, and I'll tell you why I think this. I've had people I've been around over the last decade that they got all sorts of different woke concepts of whatever. But I tell you where I'm trying to link this. So when we were in Alice Springs, me and Jordan, all of these fucking woke hippies, they thought they knew what Aboriginal people needed. Like, it was a fucking joke, actually. I'd sit there in Monty's or something and you'd hear them banging on behind me. Oh, this is what Aboriginal people need. Half these motherfuckers are on Centrelink. So I don't even know what they think they have an opinion of, let alone that they even worked in that area to understand it. And when you actually look around the world now, everyone has an opinion about something because everyone wants to now appear woke. Or I don't even know what that saying is, and I think that's now filtered through into the disability arena, just like it has into Aboriginal affairs.
Yeah.
And the like.
Couldn't agree more.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. I feel like the voice of the disabled community isn't being heard in how the world should be more accommodating and things like that, because I often say that it's not my disability that confines me, it's the world around me. If the cafe didn't have steps to get into, I'd be there every day. But because it does, I have to go and find somewhere else. And, when we're in a position where all of us will be driving around in Porsches, well, if the Porsche dealership has stairs, well, I'm going to go and get a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's not my disability that stops me from driving a Lamborghini. It's the fucking stool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's the world around me. Like, places that are supposed to be set up for people with disability aren't even accessible.
Yeah.
Because they're designed by people that don't have a disability, but
much like most of the people that sit on NDIS, what are they called? The boards, or like the panels and all the decision making.
It's
what do they call that stuff?
The commission.
Yeah, like the NDIA. Is it NDIA commission or NDIA?
Probably
whatever.
Best to ask Brodie.
Yeah, like anyway, you know what I'm talking about? Like the people that make the big decisions in the NDIS world.
Yeah, definitely.
But none of them have actually had it. Well,
that's a whole nother podcast if you want to.
Yeah, we might just bring you and Peter Dempsey and fuck the whole game up with that one. We'll do that on a separate one.
Let's rip into that. But
we'll do
absolutely.
that. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's stay on topic. So obviously one of the things that I've always been massively interested in the world of serving people and coaching, and I dream about it a lot, is I've always wanted to work with, I've actually never said this before, even to Jordan, but I actually always wanted to work and coach high-level elite sports athletes. Especially boxers and combat sports. But that's like my long-term goal coaching wise. I'd love to be able to train mindset wise, you know, sports people that want to get to that elite level.
Yep.
And I think one of the things that just lit me up the minute I met you was that your aspirations were obviously to get your professional rugby contract in wheelchair rugby, and also to go to the Paralympics and win gold, which is elite level. So can you share with us, like, specifically your goals you want to achieve over the next 20 years in sport? And is it just in wheelchair rugby, or is there other things?
Yeah, I mean, oh geez, that could be a whole nother podcast in itself. But yeah, definitely, like, growing up, it was always deemed, well, for me anyway, and it kind of, as I grow older, it kind of made me resent the sport. But for me, growing up, I was always, I'll be successful when I make it to the Paralympics. I'll be seen when I make it to the Paralympics. I'll be heard when I make it to the Paralympics. And it was truly an obsession as a kid. Like, I was always like, you know, I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it. And over the course of, you know, my lifetime, I haven't really been able to put together a solid campaign with different health things that come up with being a disabled individual. But yeah, definitely now in a position where when I left school, I packed my belongings up and moved to Adelaide and said, you know, to the fam, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. You're either going to buy into it or you're not. So yeah, packed my bags up and moved to Adelaide, and much of the same, sort of moved to Adelaide, and things kind of went a bit pear-shaped, but the ambition was to truly play for my country, and still remains the same, and hopefully, you know, my birthday was actually on the opening ceremony, the 7th birthday was on the opening ceremony of the Paralympics of Beijing, and ever since then, I've always used to say, I'm going to be a Paralympian, and I remain true to that statement. I don't know whether it's going to be, you know, 2028 or beyond, but whenever it is, I'm ready for it. And it doesn't have to just be wheelchair rugby, you know. For those that are still out there, the coaches, still ready to jump back in a hand cycle if they want me. So
hand cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're mad as I mean, the traps on you is ridiculous, the size of your shoulders. So I can see that being an easily achievable goal too. What is there any? Okay, so like with the wheelchair rugby and what I've watched and researched and looked at, a lot of them that once they get established in elite on that level, they're actually in their like 30s. The 20s is like not really a very achievable thing for a lot of people. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of the people that play sports like wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball, they aren't born with their disability. So a lot of people actually take a long time to, you know, adjust to their new life and then build upon that baseline function, and then get to a point where they can, you know, have that routine so fine-tuned where their disability just becomes part of them, and then they're just an individual that plays an elite sport, nothing more, nothing less. But it does take a lot of time to get to the point where you just feel like you're going out there and playing like you would AFL footy on the weekend.
Yeah,
it's the same concept from an elite point of view, but it's just whether your body can handle that, given the amount of time that you've been injured or whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, so that tends to be why a lot of people, you know, the average age on the Australian wheelchair rugby team at the moment, the team that we're breaking into, I think the average age is about 32.
Okay. And so, for the viewers, because we haven't actually said this yet, you're how old?
22. So
20 just turned 22.
Yeah. So we've got a little while.
Yeah, so 2028 is happening. As simple as that. You've got 4 years to become sicker than you already are, and you're already pretty sick. I won't say the C word. You're already pretty sick at the abilities you have. And for someone so young, you've taken very quickly to the mindset things that we've taught you. I mean, you think about 4 months in, 5 months-ish with us, Lock Dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been quite quick.
I definitely think, you know, unlike a lot of people we work with, Brode's had an incredible foundation laid down, you know, and there's no resistance. So, you know, when we recommend something, it's just actioned.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, it's a mindset of a winner. You know, and the fact that, you know, you're 22, but you've had 22 years of experience adjusting to being in a chair and adapting to life around you as it unfolds. And like you reference, you know, some people are later in life when they get into Paralympics because, you know, all of a sudden they're 25, they have a car accident and
Yeah.
now they're in a wheelchair and it's like, well, what can I do with my life now? Like I want to be successful. So it's like, oh, maybe the Paralympics is a great way to be noticed.
Yeah.
You know, but for you, even though you've had a big adjustment period, what are some of the bigger obstacles you've had to face, even though you're constantly like trying to master yourself?
Biggest obstacles I've had to face, definitely people's opinions. You know, as an individual that's a wheelchair user, you know, you definitely get told, oh, you won't be able to do that, and oh, you got to be realistic. I fucking hate the word realistic, because me being realistic is me accepting, you know, accepting the script and deciding, oh, I'm never going to walk again. You know, realistic is me giving up. And me going and working a 9-to-5 behind a computer and being like a lot of the majority of people with disability that feed into that outside noise and then become this sort of depressed, miserable, you know, person that doesn't have a lot to live for. Whereas I feel like because I was born with my disability, now I'm like, man, I was given wheels to pay the bills. Let's go and fucking do this. Like, let's go.
Wheels to pay the bills. I like that.
Yeah.
Also, though, let's touch on very briefly, outside of the obvious obstacles, you also have financial obstacles and lack of support, and also quite a high expectation in relation to your contract to need social media presence. You need a wheelchair, which that's a battle in itself, because it 20 grand?
Yeah, so
20 plus grand, and at the moment you don't actually have one.
Rugby wheelchairs, or any wheelchair now, with the monetisation from outside companies that come into an organisation like the NDIS and realise, oh, it's a necessity, we can make money off that. You know, it becomes a thing that is expensive to fund, and unfortunately for myself, that, you know, has a disability that isn't exactly, let's say, stable. Things change, as do my needs, and unfortunately I grew in a position, so I feel like I'm still growing, and unfortunately when I had my latest lot of functional analysis assessments, or whatever they call them, it was deemed that, oh no, you're done growing, let's go and, you know, set things up for you. So that, and within that, there was a rugby wheelchair, day wheelchair, and things like that, and unfortunately I've outgrown both, but now within those time frames and policies and procedures that the funding bodies implement, it then makes it hard for someone like myself to pursue a high-level sport within that. So, yeah, definitely in the market for a new wheelchair if anyone out there is...
Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure if anyone's out there and, you know, you got a sly 20,000, you want to actually be a part of a success story that will probably end up being in Hollywood, I reckon you should just get in contact with us and drop 20 G's and get this man his wheelchair so he can end up with his professional rugby contract. Either way, he's going to do it, but, you know, I'm sure there's some people watching on that may have a bit of surplus crypto money that they think to themselves, I'd like to do something good with that.
But it's not just the Paralympics that is in the pipeline. What else is in that pipeline?
Yeah, so I guess now so I'm using the Paralympics and sport as a platform to really show, you know, the disabled community within, you know, the local areas and around the country that, you know, I'm trying to use that platform to push a message and really try and change the perceptions, not only for the individuals that are in chairs, you know, telling them to, you know, pursue what they want to pursue regardless of what anyone says, but also trying to shift the mindsets of the mainstream communities as well, and really just have those conversations and answer those questions that aren't even asked, you know, because, oh, well, I can't say that. Well, as a matter of fact, how are you going to learn if you don't ask? Like, I don't blame people for not knowing things when they were never educated around disability. So I feel like I have to be the person to go and be that spokesperson for the disabled community to further educate and really close that gap between able and disabled communities, and hopefully bring the same opportunities to my disabled community as what able-bodied communities would have too. Because for those that don't know, the unemployment rate and even suicide rate in the disabled community is through the roof, and it's not something that's spoken about in the mainstream media, because we want to be seen as this hidden away and broken minority, because it is monetized at the moment, and unfortunately we live in 2024 where it's not really spoken about. So that's where the old business of pushing perceptions will come into it, and really start to crank things up in 2024.
Talk to me very quickly on the back end of the fact that you're using your sport to also leverage a business you want to begin, and it was slightly inspired when you were younger by Mr. Dylan Alcott.
Yeah, definitely. Dill put the blueprint out there, and now I'm just trying to follow those footsteps or those wheel prints, and hopefully try and replicate some of the things that he was able to do, or not replicate, but support and sort of grow that sort of community, because one person can only do so much. You know, he can only speak to so many people and reach so many people and help so many disabled people achieve what they want to achieve. So, Dill, if you're listening to this, pretty sure you got my number, mate, so hit me up.
Oh, we'll make sure when this is released, we'll tag him in this, and I'm sure he'll see all of the good change work that you're doing. So what is it what would it take? So you know what the business is you want to create. Yep. Within reason, and then over time, like me and Lock Dog have learned, it kind of evolves as you go, but you start it off and you get it running, and then it evolves. What would it take for you to do the best work of your life?
For the minute, for the rest of 2023, just getting to a point where I can sit in a chair for 12 hours a day, mate, and really have that clean run of health, and try and become friends with Cyril, and then crack on with the business plan and the business structure. But until I can get a day wheelchair that I can fit in, and actually, get to a point where I don't need support as much as I do on a daily basis, and things like that, more so based around the fact that my chair is unstable and things like that. I think that's a big part, but also just kind of building that network, because we all want to do the same thing, we just don't know how, and we all want to achieve the same thing within the community. So building that network and working with like-minded companies and businesses, but also finding those ones that don't want to monetize it.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. One more thing I want to ask you before we take our little segue for the news of the week, because this is kind of what the show's partly about. What does the word addiction mean to you?
Someone that's trying to find their purpose and feels lost in what they're trying to do. I guess for me, for those that don't know, I sort of went down a bit of a path, only recently in years have only just become friends with Cyril, but before that I was trying to escape reality and didn't know what my purpose was, because I was told what I needed to be and should be and things like that. So definitely, instead of becoming friends with my disability and trying to work with it, I was at war with it. So I was definitely lost, didn't know who to be. I had no one to be, other than Dylan Alcott, and those kind of guys. But of course it was, it's the Paralympics or it's nothing. Whereas now, as I grow older, it's a lot bigger than that. But for a number of years there, I definitely was using cannabis to try and treat disability, and try and because cannabis reached a point in the mainstream media where it's like, it's a medical miracle, rah rah rah, but then they make it so hard to get prescribed and tick all the boxes that you turn to recreational use, and that's not always a good thing. So
okay, cool.
I guess I definitely lost myself for a bit there, and part of the reason why I moved away, because, you know, grew up in the Barossa, and it was pretty isolated, and you know, I was pretty much the only disabled person there, and I thought, Jesus, there's not much here for me to be and do. You know, there was, I think, 2 stores in the whole Barossa that I could get into, so that pretty well sums it up, you know.
Yeah.
Just a guy that would hide myself away and make music. Music was definitely a saving grace and things of that nature. But yeah, I didn't know how to deal with the changes, you know. For those, I was actually only diagnosed as a tetraplegic when I was 16-ish. So, you know, going through those changes pretty much by myself was definitely hard, and I was definitely trying to escape my reality in a way. And fortunately, music became that escape. But before that, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, I mean, that's Addiction 101, you know. I think we're all just trying to find our way home, and when we lose connection to ourselves and other people, we just find a way of escaping the reality we're in, right? So, yeah, well, let's do this.
It will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
What was that?
That was the segue that was me mixing the wrong thing.
It's the news of the week.
Who the fuck employed this guy?
Who the fuck is that guy? Oh, well, anyway, that's all right. That's what editing for, even though we don't really edit much. So I've got news of the week this week. It's a perler. Jordan's favourite segment. He fucking loves this segment. Hey, Jordan.
I don't even know what it is.
What, the news of the week?
Oh, I thought you meant the actual content.
No, the content is always questionable.
Love the news.
So, police in the US state of Nebraska have responded to a bizarre emergency call after a bull was seen riding shotgun in the front passenger seat of a car. And this is a big fucking bull.
Boy, I actually seen this.
You've seen this, eh?
I've seen this, yeah.
So Norfolk Police Captain Chad Ryman said officers quickly located the animal riding shotgun along the primary highway on Wednesday morning. We didn't have a full understanding of it until we saw it, Mr. Ryman said. Owner Lee Meyer has driven the vehicle in parades throughout the region for many years. Half of its windshield and roof have been taken out to create space for this Watsu bull, known as Howdy Doody, to join him. Although Mr. Meyer was unavailable to be contacted and discuss this, his wife Rhonda provided the insights. And she said Howdy Doody has been Mr. Meyer's friend and buddy ever since he got him 8 or 9 years ago. And Miss Myers added that Howdy Doody is now an integral part of their family. However, she admitted she's not been entirely enthusiastic about this absolute shit show. She said the amount of money that he spent on this whole damn project between the car and the bull could have bought her a brand new kitchen. It's a bit sexist, really, isn't it? Just kitchen. Anyway. But Mr. Ryman said the policeman that there was clearly some traffic violations, but the officer let him off with a warning as long as he turned around and took Howdy Doody home. And he said, we've never dealt with anything quite like that before. No fucking shit. It's a bull riding in the passenger seat of a car. I don't reckon many people deal with that on a daily basis, do you, Broads?
I don't think many people do, but it's 2023, so the world's forever getting more and more interesting as the days go on.
Well, we do have a picture here. Do you want to have a look at the picture, Brodie?
Oh, yeah. I'll get him.
Yeah, he's got massive horns, bro. That's one horny bull.
It is an absolute massive unit hanging out of the side of a car down a highway. It is ridiculous. I mean, fair play to old mate and his bull, but there's one thing I normally have to say to people like that.
All right.
Pull your fucking head in, bruv.
Anyway, we'll fucking move on from there. That was a complete amateur hour shit show. Anyway, Lock Dog, I'll leave it back to you and get back in my box, I think.
Brodie,
Lock dog.
what role has your support system played in your journey?
Yeah, that's very interesting one. I think growing up, initially growing up in a family where I wasn't really seen to have a disability until, I needed to actually be a functioning member of society. Like, initially I thought, crawling along the ground and things like that was perfectly normal because they just kind of left me to my own devices in a way, and, said that, he'll figure it out. I used to go to therapy sessions and people would try and teach me how to transfer, but good luck trying to teach a 3-year-old kid how he should transfer. And my parents just kind of let me figure it out, and I'm so glad they did because it kind of, made me feel limitless in a way, at least initially. And, support network, I guess. Having a twin brother as well, definitely just did as much as I possibly could, trying to chase him around and do what I could. So he definitely supported me in a lot of ways and didn't see a disability whatsoever. There'd be times where we'd be breaking into the school trying to shoot hoops and he'd just throw the chair over the fence and pass me over as well and things like that. So, my brother had a big impact. My pops as well. It's actually interesting now calling my disability Cyril, because Pops and I were always on a bit of a inquisitive journey. Like, we were always kind of, don't be afraid to ask questions, just try and be the best version of yourself. It's always what he sort of tried to push and said, look, there is no reason why you can't walk and whatever. So he always just tried to push me to be the best version of myself. And now it's almost a full circle effect now that I can joke about my disability under the name of Cyril. It's kind of one of those funny things. And I guess I didn't really have a lot of support workers as such growing up. My parents just did whatever needed to be done. They just rolled up their sleeves and it was what it was. We were going to just get by, make it happen. We didn't get a lot of support from therapy and things like that as well. So a lot of friends and family always used to chip in and do what they could. Visibly remember, after my first major surgery when I was pretty much a guinea pig and doctors said, yeah, fuck it, let's just try it and see what happens. And fortunately enough, gained enough leg function to, get them moving and things like that. And next door neighbour, shout out to Pagey. Pagey and his crew just sort of band together and built those metal parallel bars that I now have in the pergola and use every day. So they all band together and did that. And whenever, things went pear-shaped, like, if I needed a new chair or something like that, it wasn't too far away, help that is anyway. So I guess just the community in general just kind of got behind me and didn't really see any sort of limitations as to what could be done. I guess growing up in a country town, I didn't really have a support network, but I had a group of family and friends that would definitely just help out wherever they could. Beach holidays, we sort of rigged up a wheelbarrow, just threw me in there with all the cricket gear and shit, and that was that. People used to just look at me like, oh, who the fuck's this 12-year-old kid just laying in his wheelbarrow while his family just push him around? Like, oh, geez, it must be nice. But no, it was kind of like we didn't have the ability to have 2 or 3 different wheelchairs back then. We just made do.
That actually, I'm actually going to ask you something now that doesn't normally get highlighted a lot, and I'm probably one of the most guilty for it now I've learnt about the disability industry. But in a positive way, what kind of effect has the NDIS program actually had on you then? By the sounds of it, it's actually helped a lot more than it's hindered.
Yeah, definitely. It's leveled the playing field. It's given choice and control to a degree to individuals like myself to pick and choose what their goals are and how they can best be addressed. I didn't have a lot of the funding that I now have. I I didn't have access to therapy on a weekly basis, as much as I am trying to make it a daily thing, with the support of yourselves and the people around me now, and trying to get to a point where I can do most of that myself. But at least I have the opportunity to just seek out those professional opinions.
Yeah.
Even if they might be right or wrong, and tell me, oh, you're not doing this, or you should be doing this. At least they're there. And at least I have a financial means and can budget that myself and sort of pick and choose in a way as to how I go about that.
Right, that's cool. That's actually been cool to just explore real quick there, even for my own sense, because I get quite frustrated with your NDIS stuff myself, because it is very early in its inception, so it is very clunky and there is a lot of wrongness in it. But then listening to your story then about back in the day without it, kind of just something just switched my whole brain about it just then. I was like, well, and it's actually a really good thing that everyone has it, even though it's got a lot of bad things with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a blessing. Although the funding was there beforehand, it was just more about, who you knew and what you knew as to how you could get what you needed to. Whereas now it's kind of, there is so much red tape addressed to it at times, but I guess within that red tape, it's because they're trying to make it the same for everyone. They're trying to give everyone equal access and equal rights and equal opportunities, which is how it should be. I just don't feel as though there's enough people with disabilities having input on the structure and things of that nature.
But I'm sure it's at such an early juncture, a few years in. I'm sure. Look, I don't know your opinion, and I don't really get into politics much, but I actually really like Bill Shorten. Like,
definitely.
I really do. I think he's a very genuine human being. And I really think, outside of the fact that he's still just a puppet, he will do as much as he can, but there's the puppet master above that does whatever they do. I don't even know who they are, but we know that about politicians. They are puppets within reason. But I really feel like he's a good man.
Yep. Yeah, he's just the face of it. They wanted a face of it, and I couldn't have enough praise for Bill. Like, he's done a hell of a lot, and he actually listens.
Yeah.
And he's trying to address things, and he's aware of the organisations that are profiting from people's misfortune. And it will turn a corner for sure. But
it will. They just done a couple of blokes, even just today. It was on the news today. They just done a couple of blokes who've been doing all false invoicing for like 800 grand. Like, they absolutely destroyed them. Like, they're done. They're toast. They're not just toast in their business, they're toast in their freedom. So they're coming for you. Every one of you that's doing some bad stuff that shouldn't be getting done, they're coming for you. So either do the right thing, because you're getting paid well either way, or if you want to continue to do the wrong thing, it will catch up with you. So anyway, that's my little fucking threat to humanity.
Yeah. No, I definitely think Brodie's right in saying that they are trying to give everyone the same, but it is kind of that one size fits all approach in many ways, but taking the individuality out of people having, disabilities. Like Brodie and someone else with the same diagnosis, two different things.
Yeah,
definitely.
Completely different, but they are trying to make it fair by keeping it the same, but then it removes the fact that we're all different and unique. But going on from that and just how unique and special you are, Brodie, you've clearly overcome a lot of adversity. You've been through some shit. You've had to battle with yourself physically, mentally, and God knows where else you've had battles. What advice could you give other people going through, a similar kind of story to your own? It could just be words of encouragement.
Yeah. I guess the first thing I'd say is, and it's so cliche, but it's so true, you're always better off than someone else out there, After watching, I have to get the name of the title from you, but I watched the film last night of a quadriplegic that had no upper limb function. So no triceps, no hand function, nothing. It was pretty much Mr. Floppy. And, I draw upon that now, and I'll try and hold on to that. And I do with friends of mine that genuinely can't get themselves out of bed. and things like that. I use that as gratitude, and I'm very grateful for those to be in the position I am. So I guess trying to be grateful for what you do have rather than focusing on what you don't, because for the 10,000 things that you can't do because of your disability, there's a million other things that you will be able to do, and you'll have a different mindset, and it just takes, it takes that time to just click. I actually just click my fingers. There's that therapy as well.
Yeah, there you go, see?
Just try and be grateful. Just be friends with your disability. Like Danny says, ask why it's there. What does it come to teach you? Things like that,
Yeah, I definitely think from myself, I was to give advice to anyone, because, like a big staple in the NDIS is choice and control. And I think there's still a lot of people that aren't actually exercising that. Like choose your best supports. Don't settle for, that one or two options that someone suggested. Like actually look, find someone good, find someone who's really going to take your goals as serious as you. Because that's the approach, everyone should have.
That's a meaningful life though, bro.
Yeah.
Find people like-minded to you that want to help you get where you want to get. It goes back to the price of a bottle of water at an airport compared to a price of a bottle of water at a supermarket. Change your location, change your value, change your purpose.
Oh,
Jesus Christ, that is hectic. I feel like we need to get that on a plaque.
I thought they were getting rid of nukes. Who dropped that?
Fucking hell, that's like a weapon of mass destruction.
Do what you have to do in order to get where you want to get.
Fuck.
Boom.
There you go.
Regardless of your circumstances.
Look, we didn't come here for a fight.
No, I don't want any trouble, mate.
The only disability truly is a mindset. And even if you are a quadriplegic that can't move your arms, if you've got a good support network around you and you truly have a goal, you will find a way on how to achieve it.
Yeah.
100.
I got a quick segue question for you as we start wrapping this up. We actually talked about the other day, me and you on a live. What do you see as a similarity between a disability and an addiction? Like someone battling with an addiction and someone battling with a disability. What's the crossover, or what similarities do you see either around the stigma of both conditions, or sicknesses or illnesses, or generally just the ways of life?
Yeah, I guess the similarity is people's opinions are so heavily weighted to the outcome. It's you're one move away from a shit show.
Yeah.
But you're also one move away from an absolute blessing, depending on how someone actually perceives that. And that unfortunately has such a heavy impact on the outcome. From a disability point of view, they're so heavily linked between homelessness, because if I'm having a shit day and I can't go to work, well, I can't pay my rent.
Yeah.
And because I'm trying to work, I can't get any sort of subsidy or anything like that. It's not just, you've got a disability, you've got a roof over your head. It doesn't work like that. I still have bills to pay, as much does a drug addict. And unfortunately, addiction is a disability, but it's not seen that way. It's so heavily stigmatized, But coming from someone that nearly went down the pathway of having some sort of an addiction, I don't think I got to that point. Luckily enough, I saw a turning point before I did crash and burn. But it would have just been seen as a part of my disability. But, able-bodied people go through shit too.
Yep.
They can be inspirational too.
Yep.
I shouldn't just be seen as an inspiration because I went and got my groceries from a supermarket. Mm-hmm. Someone with a able-bodied shouldn't be seen as having an issue, because no wonder people use drugs. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here. I don't really know how to word it, but the world we live in is so heavily stigmatized and almost monetized that if you don't work a job that you hate to impress people that you don't necessarily like, well then, shit's gonna go south until you make the decision
Yep.
And that's why I'm here. You know, mindset is a powerful thing. You know, it truly is. And I guess addiction and disability is the same in the sense that shit will go south if you have a negative mindset.
Yep.
It's the same.
Nice.
You see drugs as an escape. It's the same. It's the same as a disability. You want to escape from it.
Yep.
The only way you often see that is through drugs and alcohol.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bit of a rough tangent there. I don't
No.
know how to express it, but
it makes sense, and I really like that explanation. Yeah. But you know, like you're going north, so
King of the North.
How's the next few years look for you? Like what's the vision? What are we moving towards? How's the business growing?
Yeah, I guess
how's the Paralympics looking?
Well, I guess we'll see what the vision looks like. Yeah, actually I have a vision impairment and still trying to figure that out. So we'll see what it looks like. But yeah, I guess as long as I'm getting up every day and trying to be not only the best version of myself, but also trying to encourage people to be the best version of themselves, regardless of what their goals and circumstances are. Well, that's the main thing. I'm not going to the Paralympics to win gold medals. As much as it's been a dream of mine, I feel like there's a bigger picture to that. And I'm using sport and you know, the connection between sport to also connect to communities. And hopefully it'll be a business and whatever else. I would love to, you know, be able to publicly speak more. Hopefully we'll actually narrow down into a bit more of a less tangible speech. But yeah, I'd love to publicly speak and, you know, be a voice for the disabled community, but also just help. Like, you know, disability housing isn't designed for people with disabilities, you know. Wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Wheelchairs, okay? Why should someone that can walk tell someone how they should sit? Why? Picture yourself being in rehab, just had a spinal cord injury, told you'd never walk again, and the only place you feel at home should be in a wheelchair shop because that's your new home. And if you're seeing someone telling you how you should sit in a chair that can actually just get up and walk, instantly your mindset is just going negative because, oh, what's out there for me to do if I'm in a community where someone that's outside of my community is telling me how I should live my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's what's next for me.
Nice. Well, it's been an absolute plum-pleasing pleasure and privilege to have had you here today. And we've got 2 more questions to ask you, which we ask all of our guests on the way out. The first one is, every single human being on the planet right now is looking and listening to you. What do you say to them?
The only disability truly is a bad mindset. I want to be the person that we're told that he'd never walk again. I want to walk into that doctor's office just to change their mindset, just to change their words and the way they deliver things. And just because they're narrow-minded doesn't mean that they have to push that narrow mindset onto someone else. I want to be able to tell people to think outside the box, think of a way to make it possible. There is no such thing as impossible. It's just a matter of how, not a matter of can't. It's a matter of how.
Yeah.
You know, it's the whole beach story on, oh, I'd love to be able to get down the beach more. All right, how do we make that a thing?
Yeah.
We put new wheels on the gopher.
Yeah.
You know, it honestly is, whether it's mental illness that you're going through or disability. It's ask yourself truly how. Just throw it all out there on how could I possibly achieve this and go after it.
Yeah, it's a powerful statement. It's something similar I read in Think and Grow Rich book. So it's like, it's not I can't afford it, it's how can I afford it. You just slightly tweak the language around any of it, and then your brain will go after it. Right?
Yeah. And the second one.
Yep.
I'm not always going to get the right questions asked on each episode for each guest. Is there a question you wish you were asked but you weren't that you can mention now, and we'll try and get an answer for it?
Not really. I guess the big thing, people just make assumptions. You know, what sort of assumptions do people make? And I don't know about you guys, but like in my interactions with different individuals, like the first question isn't, oh, how are you, or what's going on? Like, you know, with someone new, it's, oh, can you do this, or can you do that, or, you know, does your dick work, or something like that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I want to get to a point where those questions are answered so that people don't have, because not everyone's going to be as open and honest and freely speaking about their disability as what I will.
Yeah.
Because I've lived with my disability my whole life. This is my purpose. It's not someone's purpose that's just fallen off a bloody ladder and broken their back, or, you know, just had a brain injury.
Whole situation.
You know, not everyone's okay to process that trauma. So just creating a space in which all those questions are answered so that they don't have to go and ask the wrong person, because, you know, just because they're curious might be the difference between someone killing themselves and not.
Yeah.
Because not everyone wants to talk about that shit. But hopefully we can destigmatize it enough where people are open and able to talk about it in a way where it doesn't have to be answered by people that don't want to answer those questions.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But also, like, not making assumptions around people's disability. Like, I get people sign language to me. Like, I'm not fucking deaf. I'm fucking paralysed, mate. Like, just, or, you know, you'd go somewhere,
shit.
you know, you'd be on a date or whatever it might be, and they'll talk directly to the female individual. So, well, fuck, we're off to a good start here if the waitress isn't even going to talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? What sort of mindset does that, like, what sort of ideas does that put into the female's mindset, or whoever it might be?
Yeah.
The other person, or if it's, you know, if it is disabled or able disabled, you know?
Yeah.
What sort of mindset does that then create?
Yeah. So, as we round this out now, Brodes, it's one last question that I have to ask. We always do ask, and it is, what does living from the inside out mean to you?
Being comfortable in your own skin, being completely content, having a purpose, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm a badass motherfucker, I ain't take no shit from nobody.
There we go.
You know, that is inside out. Being completely content with yourself and war at the world, because you're so content with yourself that nothing else matters. Like, it doesn't matter. That's what being healthy on the inside and out means. You know, being truly content with where you are as an individual. And trust me, I sit here and preach all this positive stuff, but it's a work in progress for everybody on earth. But, you know, that's what it truly means. If you're happy with who you are and learn to just not give a fuck about other people and what they think, then that is the true meaning of loving yourself inside and out, which is why we're all in this same room.
Yeah. Well, it's been absolute gold dust having you here, bro. Thanks very much for coming in and sharing your story, sharing your insights and sharing your journey with us. We're very happy to have you as part of the Inside Outers family. Want to thank our sponsors, Dan Smith at Killer Movies and 5-Star Classified over in America. We thank you for looking after us and taking care of us on our journey. Just remember that anybody that watches this show, if you're suffering, you're struggling, you're tripping, you're falling with your mental health, your addiction, the stigmas, your relationships, or your general happiness, there's plenty of people out there that actually care and that are very well trained to help you with that stuff, and it's just not weak to speak. So it's really important that people like Inside Out Coaching and Consultancy Collective and many, many others are existing in this world and doing the good stuff so that you can find a way of doing the good stuff for yourself. So I'll leave you with our ever philosophical monk extraordinaire to my right here, Jordan Lockerbie, to lead us out with one of his banging statements. And I'll thank you very much again, Brodie, for being here. And remember, fam, that you should get onto the podcast and hit the subscribe and like buttons and share it and tell everybody, because the more you subscribe to us, the more we help others.
All right, and if the lock dog can leave you with one thing, he'll leave you with this. On the road to success, action and perseverance will carry you much further than just mere thinking.
Oh, there you have it. Absolutely profound. What do you think of that one, eh?
Yep.
All right, well, it's goodbye
Over
from
and
me.
out, people.
It's goodbye from me.
It's over and out from me.
Catch you later.
There we go.
You, me, nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how.
See you next time on the InsideOutrz podcast.
Check it.